What's up, VC? My name is Bobby, and it's time for another episode of Spins and Finds and Whatever. This is episode number 16, but it's also part 3 of my December pickups video. Series, sorry. So I'll get right to it. A lot of these, a lot of great pickups from Boxing Week. Here in the city of Toronto. The first thing I'll show, though, is not a new pickup. It's just something I spun last week that I've had for quite a while, and it's Frank Zappa's Cruisin' with Ruben and the Jets. It's Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention, and this is their Ode to Doo-Wop, and this album is greasy but fantastic. Somebody else showed this, and it just put me in the mood to listen to it. Just one of the great albums. With a young picture of Frank on the back. For those of you that know it, you're familiar with this, and the little comment there where it says, "Is this the Mothers of Invention recording under a different name in a last-ditch attempt to get their cruddy music on the radio?" Yes it is. Yes it was. And it should have been played on the radio, but it wasn't. It's a great album. This is an early, an original Canadian or an early Canadian pressing on Verve, as you can see. It's a stereo pressing, it's super clean, and it sounds great. And I just love this album, as I do with all of the Mothers of Invention stuff. Frank Zappa in the 70s appealed to me a little less, but boy, I have a lot of time for Frank Zappa in the 60s. And then, as I mentioned, even in the late 80s and 90s, around the time of his death, I liked a lot of his classical and jazz work at that time too. Just stuff in the 70s got a little juvenile for me for the most part, with a few exceptions, but anyway, so I gave that album a spin. So, Boxing Week. So I told you last video about some of the stuff I picked up at Cops Records early on in the week. I also, again, went to Zoinks, which isn't the greatest record store in the world, but it's just right around the corner from me, and it's nothing for me to pop in and see what's around. So they were having a Boxing Week sale as well, 20% off, which is nothing major. So I basically picked up 3 albums that were kind of cheap anyways. They've been there for a while. They're cheap albums, but with the 20% off, they were even cheaper. So I thought, hey, why not? If I'm going to get them, now's the time to do it. These are 3 60s classics as far as I'm concerned. First of all, you've got Raw and Alive at Merlin's Music Box, The Seeds in concert. Seeds are one of my favorite bands of the 60s, just a raw garage band featuring Sky Saxon, who passed away a few years ago. This here is a very rough sounding live album that really gives you the live experience. It's one of those rare cases where the live album is actually my favorite album by the band, and I've had a digital recording of this for a long time, but it was just great to pick this up. This is a later pressing. It came out in 1969, but this is a 1979 pressing on Pickwick. It doesn't sound great, but the real recording doesn't sound that great. So to my ears, this doesn't sound any worse. And it's got a terrific 9-minute, 45-second version of Up in a Room, and then just a killer version of Pushing Too Hard on side 2, which is just one of the garage rock classics as far as I'm concerned. So that's a cheap record that you can get anywhere, and I got it for, I think, a little over $10. And then a little under $10, I picked up Neon by The Circle. This here too, I don't think it's an original. I mean, I know it's not an original pressing or anything, but this is a very clean American pressing of the album. The cover is in mint shape. As you can see, the album itself is also in fabulous shape. And I was actually quite surprised because for some reason I thought this album was a little more kind of bubblegummy. I don't know why. Maybe because I'm familiar with the song Red Rubber Ball, which actually isn't on this album. But this is more kind of garage rock, 60s garage rock, and it sounds great. Just a real raw energy, wonderful sound, and just a fabulous album. You should pick this up. If you see it around, you should pick it up because it's cheap and very easy to find. So I got that for cheap, and with the 20% discount, it was even cheaper. So that was great. And then I also picked up this one here. It's 12 Dreams of Dr. Sardonicus by Spirit. Another classic psych rock album. It is a gatefold. And really, I don't need to say too much about this, do I? I think most of you guys know this album. It's on the Epic label. Yeah, it's a later Canadian pressing. And this was also really cheap. I think it was under $5. And it was it sounded a little bit. It didn't sound like it was in great shape initially, but I hosed it down, and it sounded great. So that was another fabulous find. A real classic. This one rocks, and I like it a lot. I like it a lot. So those are my pickups at Zoinks during Boxing Week. Then a couple days later, something came in the mail that I semi forgot about, but I did order it, and that was this repress, this mono repress of the only album ever released by Tomorrow, featuring Keith West, and of course from future Yes member there, Steve Howe. Yeah. And you know, this is the one, the repress that came out for Record Store Day a couple years ago. It's out of the UK. It's got the flip back, as you can see, and it sounds fabulous. Like, if you've been kind of holding off on getting this because it's a reissue, but you can't afford an original, this sounds really good. Or I think it does anyways, to my ears. I think it sounds really good. And it looks cool too. I mean, psychedelic, baby. Check this out. Like, it's kind of really cool splatter of vinyl. Parlophone. It's mono. It's delightful. It's delicious. Everybody needs to have it. It's the type of thing James Griffith wants to take a bite out of, I'm sure. He has this weird thing about eating records. I don't know. Has he made comments to you guys about that? Yeah, every time I show a record, he's like, "Oh, I want to take a bite out of that one." It's like, all right, well, yeah, everybody has their thing, right? But anyway. But I loved it. And this is one of the greatest psych rock albums ever, as far as I'm concerned. So, really happy to get this in my collection. And this was a 50% off sale, too. I think the site was called InSound or something like that. I forget why I ordered it, but when I saw it was, you know, half price. So, shipping all in, this cost me $9 or $10, so you can't beat that. So I was pretty happy with that. Between what I've shown in the last two videos and this, I was kind of like, that's good. I don't need to buy any more records for a while. And then it happened. I get an alert from Cops Records on the Instagram. Do you like the Instagram, kids? I got an alert from there, and it was about 2 hours before closing time on the Saturday. Pardon me, the Saturday, I think. And we just put out 6 crates of music, 75% off. Come and get it. And I just looked at my wife. I was like, she goes, go, get out of here. Do your thing. So I picked up all of these records. It was at the cash register. She's punching it in, and then she punches the discount, and then she looks at it and she's like, that's unbelievable. She had more womanly voice than that, but it was something along the that's unbelievable. And I'm like, what? She's like, well, I guess, okay, it comes to $50. And I'm like, oh, okay. She goes, no, but you don't understand. The original, and she shows me the original price, and this is $300 worth of records for $50. What? So here's what I got for you. And these are all, with the exception of the first one, well, no, they're all reissues, actually. So before you start with the, I only buy originals. I prefer originals. I prefer older copies too, but whatever. My pocketbook doesn't. And when you're paying $6 for some of these that are normally priced at $30, $35, $40, I'm sorry, I'm not going to hold back from buying them. I'm just not. I'm sorry. So here's what we got. This first one here is the only used one in the bunch. A Little Bit of Soul by the Music Explosion. This is a compilation. that that they had put out some years ago, but this came out, I believe, in 1986. Yes, 1986 compilation on is it? What is this? What is this label? Performance Records. So there you go now. Little bit of soul. Of course, that was the Music Explosion's hit at the time, and a really great compilation of just some fantastic garage rock. This edition also came with this little flexi disc here of a couple of songs that Jamie Lyons, who was the leader of the band, he put out some solo garage rock songs as well, and they sound pretty good. I don't know. I never understood floppy disks, but still kind of cool to have, and really nice, clean pressing of that record there. So, Little Bit of Soul by the Music Explosion. All right, more 60s garage rock with the Syndicate of Sound and the album Little Girl. This here is a Sundazed reissue from the late 90s, I believe. I know people have their problems with Sundays, but I never have, and all these records sound good too. So far, my batting average, I don't know sports. But anyways, whatever it's been perfect. My record's been perfect so far with Sunday's reissues. I've never had a problem. They've all sounded pretty good to great. And yeah, so I'm very, very happy with this one. Syndicate of Sound. Little Girl was their hit, fuzzed out garage rock from the 60s. It was actually a pretty big hit. But this also has some other great songs on it. It has some covers. Chuck Berry's Almost Grown. You got Dream Baby, Dream Baby. Is You Is or Is You Ain't My Baby. The Witch, which was Mitch made popular by the Sonics. Anyway, and what I've always liked about the Sundazed reissues is also just the write-ups on the back. Just very very detailed. A lot of information there on the band, which I really appreciate. It includes the original liner notes as well, and they all are the same. The liner notes that came with these 60s albums claimed that every single band was taking the country by storm. All of them. Every so often, a group comes along that seems to take the country by storm. One such group is the Syndicate of Sound. And that's what they claim. But some great pictures there. Really, really great album there. So that I got from Boxing Day, putting the record back. Oh, that's why, because I wasn't putting back in the right way. Sorry, kids, you don't want to see this. All right. Also, another Sundazed reissue that I picked up is the Incredible String Band. This too is a Sundazed reissue from 2003. Country rock. Kind of folk, 60s folk music, kind of jig band sort of stuff. Again, Sunday's reissue, fantastic write-up. And this is another one that I am not disappointed with. It sounds great. And yeah, well, not much. I guess I was expecting something a little bit more garagey or psyche, but I don't know why. They're called the Incredible String Band. The cover of the album, they look folksy, more folksy than garagey. I don't know what I was thinking, but anyways, it's a really good folk revival, folk pop album, British folk, so on. So really good. So I was happy to get that. The Incredible String Band. All right. Also include. Don't forget these records were all, sealed. They were all sealed when I bought them, with the exception of the Music Explosion one. The rest of them, these albums were all sealed and never played before, and it's just amazing. Another one I picked up that day was another 60s garage band, The Remains. This is psych garage beat music, and this is a Record Store Day re-release, again on the Sundazed label. These ones, their big hit was "Don't Look Back," and "Don't Look Back," it's on the Nuggets compilation. It's just a classic song. Don't look back, and they also "Diddy Wah Diddy," which was made famous by Captain Beefheart, amongst others. Just a fabulous album. I love this stuff. I mean, 60s garage music. You just can't go wrong with that kind of thing, you know? Here it is. It's a Sundays reissue, but it also was on the Epic label. It's on white vinyl, which usually sounds like kind of garbagey, but this one doesn't. Sounds really good. And yeah, what more can I say about that? Don't Look Back was written by Billy Vera. Billy Vera was the guy who had that big comeback hit in the 80s, that kind of sappy song, At This Moment, which was featured in the TV show Family Ties. Fun facts all over the place. Just a wealth of useless information. The Remains, another awesome pickup from that day. Steering slightly away from the 60s garage rock is a couple of albums by a legend, as far as I'm concerned, in the whole krautrock electronica scene. I picked up 2 reissues by Konrad Schnitzler. Konrad Schnitzler was one of the original members of Tangerine Dream, and another band whose name escapes me right now, but I know it's mentioned in the liner notes of one of these, so it will come back to me in a moment when I think of it. Cluster with a K. So, anyways. So, 1981 was a particularly prolific period for Konrad Schnitzler. He released a lot of stuff at that time, and this is one of the albums that he released in 1981. It's really a collection. It was kind of a departure for him because he usually did longer krautrock electronic tracks. This is made up of a bunch of shorter cuts. The original album had about 13 songs on it. This one comes with 8 bonus cuts as well, as you can see. They're all untitled. It's Contempora is the name of the album, and it's really, really good. Some high quality electronica. This is quite experimental. The record sounds amazing though. This one actually was pressed a little quiet. The vinyl's quiet, but I mean, like, the music is pretty quiet too. Comes with here's the inner sleeve, right up on the album. A couple of pictures there for you, and this was pressed in Germany. Just great. So I've been wanting to get some Konrad Schnitzler in my collection for a while, and so being able to get it for $6 as opposed to the usual $30-something was pretty sweet. So that was good. And then I like this other album even better. This Konrad Schnitzler I also picked up that day. This is the album Grün, which I think is German or something for green. And it's got the umlaut over the U. It's this is more like your standard Konrad. It's got 2 songs, but sort of 3, because you'll notice the second song, the song on side 2, can be played both at 33 and 45 RPM. And in fact, when you buy the CD, it comes with both versions on there. It includes the 45 RPM, the sped up version, as a bonus track. And, technically my favorite song on the album is the 45 RPM version of that song. But the album is called Grün. It is on, the label is Grün, the cover is Grün, or green. I hope Grün means green. If it means something else, then sounding like an idiot. And there's some more pictures there. Yeah, so I was pumped to get those, especially this one. This album is just fabulous, and both of them are quite good. So there we go, a little bit of krauty electronica type of stuff. I also grabbed this reissue. It is Who is the Sender by Bill Fay. Double album. Bill Fay, singer-songwriter and piano player from the 60s, early 70s, released 2 albums back then, got dropped by his label and basically fell into obscurity, but in the 90s kind of a cult following surrounded him to the point where those albums were reissued, and so he released a 3rd album. And then he released this 4th album. I don't have any Bill Fay in my collection, so this is the first Bill Fay album. I am somewhat familiar with this music, though. I've had it in digital form for a while. This album, it's very nice. You know, it's the type of thing I could see it growing on me if I listen to it a little bit more. But for what it is, I quite enjoy it. I think record 2 is stronger than record 1, but it's a great release, and it's one I quite honestly would never have picked up if it wasn't for this sale. So yeah, it was nice to get that album as well. Bill Fay, who is the sender. I hope to pick up some of his older albums, even if they're reissues, but some of his older albums in the future. But it's cool to get that. And then the last album I picked from that big 75% off vinyl haul is this tasty little reissue here of My Funny Valentine, Miles Davis in concert, featuring George Coleman on tenor sax, Herbie Hancock on piano, Ron Carter on bass, Tony Williams on drums. He played more than one drum, actually. He was on drums. Columbia, 2i, repress, mono, no, stereo. But it's great, and I'm happy to have it. And it sounds really good. I mean, I have yet to be let down by... I prefer to get original Miles Davis or early Miles Davis, but I have yet to be let down by a reissue. I think the reissues sound really good, so that's great. And I love, with all of these ones that I got at the 75% discount, it was just, the thrill of ripping off the shrink and like putting on a brand new record. I haven't had that for a while because I do buy a lot of used vinyls, so it was kind of cool to do that. So I was really happy to get that. So there you go. Those are my pickups. That completes my December pickups. Really happy with all of them. A lot of music to keep me busy for a while. It may be a while before my next video. I've got a busy few weeks ahead of me, so I don't know if I'll be posting too much. I do sort of want to enter a contest, but we'll see. I may not have time to do that. We'll see. But anyways, thanks for listening, guys. I hope you enjoyed that, and I've been enjoying as many of your videos as I can watch as well. I haven't been catching a lot lately, to be honest, but some of you I've seen and I've commented, so thank you very much for your rapt attention to my vinyl videos, and I'll talk to you later. Ciao.